Hello, friends. Don't think too much about anyone. Most of our emotional exhaustion does not come from hard work, responsibilities, or even failure. It comes from overthinking people. We replay conversations, analyze tone, imagine intentions, and create stories that may not even be true. The mind becomes a courtroom where the other person is absent, yet we keep arguing alone. Gaur Gopal Das often reminds us that peace is not about changing others. It is about training our mind. When we think too much about someone, we unknowingly hand them remote control of our happiness. Let me share a simple example. A young professional once told me, someone ignored my message and I couldn't sleep all night. One unread message stole an entire night of peace. The truth is, the other person was sleeping peacefully while this person was fighting imaginary battles. This is what happens when we give too much mental importance to someone who may not even be aware of our inner struggle. Overthinking others is like watering a plant that gives no fruit, only thorns. In life, not everyone will understand you, value you, or choose you. And that is perfectly okay. Gaur Gopal Das teaches that people behave according to their own level of awareness, not according to our expectations. When we expect everyone to treat us with the same sincerity we offer, disappointment becomes inevitable. Freedom begins when we stop expecting emotional returns from everyone we invest in mentally. Another example. Imagine carrying a heavy bag everywhere, even when it doesn't belong to you. Overthinking people is exactly that. Carrying emotional luggage that is not yours. Someone's silence, mood, or behavior often has more to do with their inner battles than with you. But when we personalize everything, we turn small incidents into deep wounds. Wisdom is knowing when to care and when to let go. The goal is not to become cold or indifferent. The goal is to become balanced. Care deeply but don't cling mentally. Love but don't lose yourself. Respect people but don't worship their opinions. Your peace should not depend on how someone treats you on a random day. When you stop thinking too much about others, you finally create space to think about your purpose, your growth, and your inner peace. In 2026 and beyond, mental strength will not be about controlling the world, but about controlling where your attention goes. Attention is energy. Spend it wisely. Give it to growth, values, and self-respect, not to unnecessary mental noise created by others. Remember, the mind should be your home, not a guest house for everyone who passes by. Overthinking people gives them power over your peace, often without their permission and without their awareness. Most people do not wake up planning to disturb your mental balance, yet your mind turns their smallest action into a storm. A delayed reply, a changed tone, or a casual comment becomes a personal attack in our imagination. Gaur Gopal Das often explains that the mind is like a magnifying glass. It enlarges what we focus on. When you focus excessively on someone, their importance in your life increases far beyond reality. And slowly, your peace starts shrinking. The painful truth is this: while you are overthinking, the other person is usually busy living their life. They are laughing, working, resting, or worrying about their own problems. They are not replaying conversations the way you are. This imbalance creates suffering. You carry emotional weight that the other person never handed to you. Peace is lost not because someone hurt you deeply, but because you kept reopening the wound through constant thinking. When you realize this, you understand that overthinking is self-created suffering. Imagine giving someone the keys to your house without asking whether they will respect it. Overthinking does the same with your mind. You give unrestricted access to someone's behavior, words, or silence. Your happiness rises or falls based on their actions. Gaur Gopal Das teaches that true strength is not controlling others, but controlling access to your inner world. Not everyone deserves free entry into your thoughts. Some people should remain outside the mind, even if they are polite visitors in life. Many people confuse sensitivity with overthinking. Being sensitive means understanding emotions. Overthinking means drowning in them. When you replay scenarios again and again, you are not solving a problem. You are multiplying pain. The mind tells stories without evidence, assumptions without truth. What did they mean? Why did they behave like that? These questions rarely lead to clarity. Instead, they create anxiety. Wisdom lies in knowing when to reflect and when to release. A monk once said, "Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Someone's action may hurt you once, but your thoughts hurt you repeatedly. Overthinking is like pressing replay on pain. Every replay strengthens the emotional impact. Gaur Gopal often reminds us that peace comes when we stop feeding unnecessary thoughts. Just because a thought enters your mind does not mean it deserves your attention. You can choose to let it pass, like a cloud in the sky. When you stop overthinking people, you regain control over your emotional life. You begin to respond instead of react. Silence stops feeling like rejection. Distance stops feeling like disrespect. You understand that people behave based on their own inner state, not your value. This shift is powerful. It moves you from emotional dependency to emotional maturity. You stop seeking validation from others and start finding stability within yourself. Ultimately, protecting your peace is an act of self-respect. You are not becoming careless, you are becoming conscious. You still care, but you no longer sacrifice your mental health for it. You learn that your mind is sacred space, not a public meeting hall. When you stop thinking too much about others, you create space for growth, clarity, and calm. And in that calm, you finally hear your own voice again. Not everyone deserves your emotional investment, yet many of us give it away freely without realizing the cost. Emotional energy is limited, just like physical energy. If you spend it carelessly, you will feel drained even without doing much. Gaur Gopal often explains that we must choose where to invest our heart because every emotional investment demands a return: peace, respect, or growth. When we invest in people who constantly confuse, ignore, or hurt us, the return is exhaustion, not fulfillment. Think of your emotional energy like money in a wallet. You wouldn't give it to everyone you meet, yet we give our feelings, time, and mental space to people who haven't earned it. Some people listen to us only when it benefits them. Some stay close only when they need support. When you keep investing emotionally in such relationships, you slowly become empty inside. The pain is not just rejection, it is realizing that you valued someone more than they valued you. Many people fear that protecting their emotional energy will make them selfish. But there is a big difference between selfishness and self-respect. Selfishness says, only I matter. Self-respect says, I matter too. Gaur Gopal teaches that you cannot pour from an empty cup. When you protect your emotional energy, you are not abandoning others. You are ensuring that you have enough strength to give in healthy ways, not desperate ones. There is also a silent danger in over-investing emotionally, attachment without balance. When your happiness becomes dependent on someone's attention, mood, or approval, you lose emotional freedom. A delayed response can ruin your day. A small change in behavior can disturb your peace. This happens because you have given someone more emotional power than they can handle. True care does not create fear of loss, unhealthy attachment does. Protecting your mental energy means learning to observe before you invest. Notice how people treat you consistently, not occasionally. Do they respect your boundaries? Do they listen when you speak? Do they support your growth or only enjoy your availability? Gaur Gopal often says that relationships should energize you, not constantly drain you. If after every interaction you feel tired, confused, or anxious, it is a sign that your energy is leaking. When you reduce emotional investment in the wrong people, something beautiful happens. You gain clarity. You stop chasing explanations. You stop proving your worth. You stop overgiving in the hope of being understood. Instead, you redirect that energy toward your goals, your peace, and people who genuinely value you. This is not withdrawal, it is redirection. You are choosing quality over quantity in relationships. In the end, emotional maturity is knowing that everyone cannot be treated the same. Some deserve your love, some deserve your respect, and some deserve distance. Distance is not punishment, it is protection. When you guard your emotional energy wisely, your life becomes lighter. You smile more, think clearer, and live calmer. And that calm is not coldness. It is inner stability born from self-awareness. People act based on their own level of awareness, not based on your worth. This one understanding can save you years of emotional pain. Many times we assume that how someone treats us is a direct reflection of our value. If they ignore us, we feel unimportant. If they criticize us, we doubt ourselves. Gaur Gopal often reminds us that people behave according to their inner state, their conditioning, wounds, fears, and understanding of life. Their behavior says more about them than IT ever says about you. Imagine a person who is carrying a heavy load of stress, insecurity, or unresolved pain. When such a person speaks harshly or behaves coldly, it is not because you lack value, but because they lack emotional balance. Yet we take it personally. We internalize their behavior and turn it into self-doubt. This is like blaming yourself for someone else's bad eyesight because they couldn't see you clearly. Your worth does not reduce just because someone's awareness is limited. A very simple example is traffic. When someone honks aggressively or cuts you off, do you assume it is because you are a bad driver or a bad person? No. You understand that the other person may be impatient, stressed, or careless. But in relationships, we forget this logic. We assume intention where there may only be ignorance. Personalizing everything turns normal human behavior into emotional wounds we didn't need to carry. Gaur Gopal teaches that expectations without understanding create suffering. When we expect emotional maturity from people who haven't developed it, disappointment is guaranteed. Some people don't know how to communicate kindly. Some don't know how to appreciate others. Some don't even understand themselves. Expecting depth from shallow awareness is like expecting fragrance from plastic flowers. It is not cruelty, it is limitation. When you stop personalizing others' actions, you gain emotional freedom. The silence no longer feels like rejection. Their mood no longer feels like your responsibility. You stop asking, what did I do wrong? And start asking, is this really about me? Most of the time, the answer is no. This shift does not make you careless, it makes you conscious. You stop absorbing emotions that were never meant for you. This understanding also teaches compassion. When you realize that people act from their level of awareness, you stop reacting with anger and start responding with wisdom or distance when needed. Not everyone needs confrontation. Some need boundaries, some need forgiveness, some simply need space. Gaur Gopal often says that peace comes when we stop demanding emotional intelligence from everyone and start practicing it ourselves. Ultimately, your worth is constant, even when others fail to see it. Do not measure yourself through the lens of someone who is emotionally confused, insecure, or unaware. You are not responsible for how deeply someone understands life. When you stop personalizing everything, you protect your self-respect and inner peace. And that peace becomes your strength, not your weakness. Inner peace begins when you stop replaying others' actions and start focusing on your own growth. Many of us spend hours thinking about what someone said, how they looked at us, or why they didn't respond. This mental loop steals energy that could be used for learning, creating, or improving ourselves. Gaur Gopal often reminds us that our mind is like a garden. Whatever we water grows. If we water thoughts about others' behavior, anxiety grows. If we water thoughts about our growth, happiness blossoms. A simple example can illustrate this. A student frets endlessly because a teacher criticized them in class. While they replay the criticism, their grades drop due to distraction. Meanwhile, the teacher has forgo T10 the incident. By focusing on personal improvement instead of the perceived insult, the student could have learned from the critique and grown. The lesson here is clear. Obsessing over others rarely changes them, but focusing on yourself always changes you. Focusing on yourself does not mean ignoring others. It means prioritizing your mental space and energy. When you stop giving excessive attention to someone else's words or actions, you can analyze situations calmly and respond wisely. Gaur Gopal emphasizes that inner work creates resilience. When your mental energy is invested in personal growth, you naturally develop emotional immunity. Small irritations, misunderstandings, or even betrayal lose their power over you. Another benefit of focusing on growth is clarity of purpose. When your mind constantly churns over others' behavior, your goals blur. Overthinking shifts attention from constructive action to passive suffering. Imagine a person building a house while constantly worrying about neighbors' opinions. The structure may never be completed. But if attention is on building, walls rise, roofs get fixed, and the house becomes a home. Similarly, focusing on yourself ensures steady progress in life, career, and relationships. Gaur Gopal often tells a story of two friends. One spent days worrying about how others judged him, while the other spent the same days learning new skills and helping others. By the end of the year, the first remained stuck in anxiety. The second had grown emotionally, intellectually, and socially. The message is profound. The energy you give to others' actions could instead become fuel for your own journey of excellence. Why? Oh, cultivate the habit of focusing on yourself. Over time, it transforms your relationships too. You become less reactive, less dependent on validation, and more understanding of others. You stop reacting emotionally to negativity and start responding rationally to situations. Gaur Gopal teaches that personal growth is the most respectful way to deal with others. You no longer waste time changing people. Instead, you change yourself, which is far more powerful. Ultimately, choosing self-focus over overthinking others is a practice of freedom. Freedom from unnecessary suffering, freedom from emotional dependency, and freedom from mental clutter. It does not make you selfish, it makes you centered. Your peace is no longer negotiable with anyone's behavior. By turning attention inward, you unlock your potential, happiness, and serenity. And when you are truly at peace, your presence becomes a blessing to others, not a reaction to them.